Hello, and welcome to our video today on professionalism for future occupational therapists. This video is facilitated by the Alex Lee Career and Professional Development Center at Lenoir-Rhyne University. My name is Katie Woolman. I'm the Director of Career and Professional Development, and I'm your career counselor. We're really passionate about helping you reach your full potential professionally and in your career. And we'd love to empower our students and alumni to just reach the goals that you have and to be your best self in those professional settings. So hopefully this video today will do just that for you. So let's get started with what goals we have set forth for today's video. We're going to work toward defining professionalism. We're going to explore specific professional competencies related to healthcare. We're going to learn about emotional intelligence and the relationship between professionalism and EQ, which is a shortened way of saying emotional intelligence. We're also going to learn strategies to improve our own emotional intelligence. This is an area where we're always going to have natural strengths and things that we can improve upon. And the data shows us that we can definitely improve in our areas of emotional intelligence and the competencies that go along with that. So let's get started. Professionalism is often one of those things that we kind of know what we're talking about, but it's very hard to define it and kind of come up with an official definition of it. So let's look at these quotes to give us an idea of what professionalism is in general, kind of the idea of it. So professional is not a label you give yourself. It's a description you hope others will apply to you. Another quote, professionalism, it's not the job you do, it's how you do the job. A professional is someone who can do his best work when he doesn't feel like it. I think that's a good one for these days. It's not about having the skill to do something. It's about having the will, desire, and commitment to be your best. Professionalism is a frame of mind, not a paycheck. And professionalism is an attitude, not a time commitment. So these are all different quotes from different people who are trying to help us understand what professionalism is. And it encompasses a lot of different things, but essentially it's meeting the expectations set forth in your workplace. And we're going to talk about what that might look like specifically for you and what behaviors that entails. So we are talking about these skills and these behaviors that might happen in person and that might occur virtually. Especially nowadays, you are likely to have virtual fieldwork experiences. Many of you are doing virtual work right now. And so we're going to talk about incorporating that into these professionalism skills as we go along. So first and foremost, a neat appearance is obviously a part of professionalism. We want to look like we took some care putting ourselves together when we show up at work. So we could have a great professional outfit, but if it's been sitting in a ball in the bottom of our closet and we pull it out that morning and put it on, we might be wrinkled or rumpled or stained. We want to make sure that we're neat, that we're polished, that we're put together. Obviously, we want to practice good hygiene and grooming, but that even comes down to we want to make sure we're not showing up at work with wet hair, with items that might impact your ability to be a healthcare professional and work with clients. So piercings is something we want to be careful about. Showing visible tattoos is something we want to be mindful about. And we want to make sure, again, that we're showing that we've taken the time and care to present ourselves respectfully, not only for ourselves, but for those around us. Second behavior, proper demeanor in person and online. So what does that mean? It means being polite and well-spoken 100% of the time, even when we are not feeling our most energetic or our most positive. This is not an invitation for you to think about being a fake person necessarily. We definitely encourage genuine behavior and authentic behavior for sure. And this can take practice. But whether we're speaking with patients, field supervisors, coworkers, we want to keep calm and be tactful. Again, even when we are tense, even when we may have some stressors of our own. And we also want to understand that, especially nowadays, we want to give folks a lot of grace. We might have a client that it has a lot going on in their own life and may not be as polite to us, but we want to have that proper demeanor with them at all times, no matter what. When we are interacting with folks online, we want to consider our attire and that neat appearance there again. I've noticed certainly folks look more casual when they're working from home. I think that's one of the benefits, frankly, of being able to work from home. However, we still want to look polished and professional at the same time. So you can wear comfy clothing that can appear to be professional when you are working in a Zoom setting or online, and you can definitely achieve both. But we want to make sure we're still looking professional, even if we're working from home or remotely. We want to consider what is in our background. So making sure that we're not in front of a bed that's unmade, or a messy room, or items up on the wall that could potentially be distracting or potentially offensive to other people. We also want to make sure that we're testing our lighting ahead of time, being on lots of Zoom calls and online and virtual conferences. You may have noticed, or you may have experienced, it may be hard to see somebody based on the lighting that they have. So ideally, your lighting is in front of you, facing you. You don't want to have a window in your background because that can cause a shadow on your face. And there are all sorts of cool lights now that you can purchase for this sort of activity. I don't think you need to do that necessarily, but if you have a lamp or your light source behind your computer that is shining on your face, that's usually the best way to achieve ideal lighting so that your clients and the folks that you're working with can see you very clearly. We also want to make sure that we test our technology ahead of time. If we know we're going to have appointments via Zoom or WebEx or whatever platform you're using, we want to make sure that we've downloaded the most updated version a minute before we're supposed to join somebody online. We want to make sure that our speakers are working. We can test our speakers, test our cameras. We want to make sure that we're doing that ahead of time so that when we're ready for an appointment, all our technology glitches and issues are fixed, hopefully. That's notwithstanding when Zoom crashes or something like that. Those things are out of our control, but we want to do what we can on our end to make sure our technology is functional. Number 3, we want to be reliable. We want to be known for getting our work done on time, yes, but saying, when we say we're going to do something, we want to make sure that we follow through with that. Responding to requests promptly, following through with promises in timely fashion. I know I have to take notes. If I say to a client, oh, I'll check into that for you, I have to write it down or I'll forget. And then I want to try to follow up as quickly as possible with that information. This can be challenging if you have a lot of different communication channels coming your way. If you have email coming through or LinkedIn messages, Canvas messages, this can certainly be a challenge in our online and virtual working world right now, but that's definitely something that we want to try to make time for. We don't want to be known as, somebody who may not follow through with what they're saying, or somebody who may be chronically late with what we're turning in. We want to set benchmarks and meet them to demonstrate reliability. So setting goals in the workplace, setting items that you would like to achieve and working toward meeting them definitely goes toward you being, showing yourself as a reliable and trustworthy employee and coworker. We want to show competence and coachability at the same time. So competent and confidence are great traits to have. Going into field work, you want to certainly project confidence for the sake of your clients. But we also want to make sure that that confidence is not expressed in a know-it-all type of attitude or a condescending type of attitude. That's very important. We don't want to be that way toward our clients, our patients, or toward our supervisors or coworkers. So we want to become an expert in our field, continuing our education, attending seminars, and attaining relevant professional designations. Knowledge is certainly power. So we want to always be interested in increasing our competence and confidence level, but at the same time being coachable and teachable. We want to respect our supervisors our fieldwork supervisors, our other supervisors, and be willing to learn something new. If we have a different idea than a supervisor does, we want to approach it with a respectful manner and not in a overly confident manner. We want to always be open to receiving good feedback and learning and growing. We want to be an excellent communicator. This is so important with professionalism. So often misunderstandings, hurt relationships can be the root of ineffective communication. So we want to compose our letters and emails to be brief and to the point. Make sure we have a professional signature and email address when we're emailing folks. Keep that tone very polite and formal in emails, unless, of course, you have a personal relationship with someone that you're working with and have gotten to know them a little bit better. But you want to make sure that your tone, especially in emails and written communication, is as polite as possible, because the tone of an email, the tone of a letter, or even notes, case notes, can be interpreted differently by different people. So I think erring on the side of caution there is a really good idea. In terms of communicating in person, again, we want to communicate positively with others. We want to avoid things like office gossip. We want to make sure that we understand the power that our words hold, and that we're being very intentional and kind and respectful with those words. It's very normal to be tempted to engage in office gossip, but we really want to avoid that trap, because we do not want to spread negativity in the workplace. And you can be sure that if someone is gossiping about someone else, they're likely to gossip about you too. And so you want to really avoid getting into that kind of situation with your coworkers. We want to have good phone etiquette. So this is along the same lines with communication. We want to, when we pick up the phone, identify ourselves with full name, company, title, when we call someone or when we answer the call. We don't want to dominate the conversation. This can be difficult to gauge who's supposed to speak at what time over the phone, but if we're listening and we're focusing on that, then we're likely to do a good job in that area. We do not want to use slang terms, and again, we want to mind our tone of voice. So as much as possible, using professional terminology, avoiding slang terms that we might use with our friends and our family. But remember that we're communicating in a professional capacity when we're on the phone. And I got this tip when I was in sales, to smile when we talk. When I used to lease apartments, and we were coached to pick up the phone and indicate what, you've reached Glen Lennox Apartments, and, give our little spiel. And we were told to smile when we answer the phone, because it sounds silly, but the caller can tell in your voice when you are smiling. That's a great tip for phone interviews too. So tuck that away for a phone interview. The seventh aspect of professionalism that we're going to talk about today is being poised. So we want to maintain our composure even when facing a difficult situation. If a customer or superior is being belligerent, we don't want to mirror that behavior. We don't want to fan those flames of negativity with more negativity. That can be difficult sometimes, but if we are always poised and professional, often we can diffuse the situation. I would add grace to that. So extending some grace to others if others are not treating you ideally. We want to understand that they may be going through a stressful time on their own. As a counselor, I can definitely tell you that everyone is carrying around their own set of personal challenges and issues that they're dealing with. Everybody has their own burdens. So oftentimes, how someone is reacting to you is not personal. It's more to do with them than you. And so understanding that is very important in the workplace, not taking belligerence or inappropriate behavior personally. However, making sure that we are always modeling professionalism. And I will say that if we do see inappropriate behavior from coworkers or supervisors and we're receiving that, we also don't have to just take it and accept it. We can report that up the chain if we're in a toxic type of work environment. We don't have to stand for that either. So obviously we want to be ethical. In the field of occupational therapy, that's very important. Your professional association has a great code of ethics for you that can be found on the AOTA website. It's imperative to display ethical behavior at all times, on or off the clock. You never know when you could be observed or be watched. And this is a higher bar to set than legal guidelines. So an ethical stance is going to be higher than a legal stance. And that's what we always want to work toward in our work settings. In professionalism, it's helpful to stay organized. So keep our own areas that we might have, our own items neat and clean, so that we can execute our tasks very easily. Keep an updated appointment book so we don't forget meetings. You may do this on your phone. However you take your appointments down, however you keep track of them, that's very important that you are managing your own time very well. Carry only the necessary contents for the day in our briefcase. Do we have briefcases anymore? I don't know. This is something that I have a hard time with. I tend to have a number of bags with me that I bring to work every day. So that's something I probably need to work on. But we want to make sure that we're organized. And again, it kind of goes toward the poised idea. We're not leaving papers. We're not kind of leaving our mess everywhere. That can be very distracting and can make our job less efficient. So that's important for sure. This is a really important one as well, tip 10 or behavior number 10, being accountable. We want to take responsibility for our own actions. If we make a mistake, we're human beings, we're likely to make some mistakes. We want to work to resolve it and fix it as soon as possible. And of course, the ideal is that we learn from our mistakes. We want to lead by this example to create trust. So when you're in a leadership position, we often think that we are supposed to act without mistakes, act with perfection. That's not realistic. So it's great if we can model owning up to our mistakes, asking for help if we need it, and working to fix things, improve things. So that's a great trait to model and to practice. We also, going toward accountability, we also want to be honest when we don't know the answer to something that someone's asking of us. So we could say, you know what, I'm not sure about that. Let me go check on that for you and I'll get you the answer as soon as I can. When I was a new professional, a new career counselor, that happened a lot, especially when I was in a new work setting. And I tell you, people really appreciated me being genuine rather than coming up with an answer that may not be 100% true. And again, following up with them to make sure you get them the answer is really important too. Let's talk a little bit about professionalism with a diversity and inclusion lens. This is another way to look at professionalism and another topic to consider when we are entering into professional environments in any career field. We want to embrace multicultural collaboration. It's important to understand that a multicultural viewpoint is going to help us do our jobs better in any setting that we might be in. We want to have a willingness to learn general practices of various cultures, but we don't want to stereotype at the same time. So for instance, if you're working with a client who is a member of a culture that's very family oriented, that's good to know. You can enlist the family's help in some of the therapies that you're doing perhaps. But we don't want to assume that because someone is part of a certain culture that they're going to have the same traits as others with that culture. We want to have patience and understanding with those who are different than us. We want to have contextual understanding, again, understanding that where folks come from and how they were raised, what their cultural influences are, give their behavior some context. So we want to be able to understand that. We want to have a respectful acceptance of those who are different than us. Multilingual skills always come in handy. Some of us may have strengths in that area and some of us don't. That's okay. Semantic awareness, so awareness of the words that we're using, awareness of the power that those words have, as I said before, is very important. And having a cultural frame of reference when we're communicating. So understanding, again, that culture plays a big part in all of our identities, and we want to hold space for that in our communications with others. I always like to share the golden and platinum rule when we talk about this sort of thing. So you've heard of the golden rule before, and that is treat others as you want to be treated. That's a very good rule to follow. However, an even better rule to embrace is the platinum rule. A graduate intern taught me this years ago. and I've started teaching it to others since then. The platinum rule is to treat others as they want to be treated. So it's inserting a little bit more empathy and understanding for where the other person is coming from. And this is very important in the workplace, especially when you become a supervisor. But we can certainly practice it now as a fieldwork student, as a new professional, and as a coworker. So treating others as they want to be treated, having an understanding of what their preferences might be, not just ours. Let's talk about how professionalism leads to high emotional intelligence, or EQ is a shortened way of saying emotional intelligence. If we are practicing professional behaviors, then we are going to display a high emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is our ability to manage ourselves and how we interact with other people. It's our soft skills, it's our character, it's our personality, our maturity level. It's not just being nice, it's managing feelings so that they're expressed appropriately and effectively. And this enables people to work together smoothly toward their common goals. I liked this visual here to show us the components of emotional intelligence: self-awareness, motivation, empathy, social skills, and self-regulation. So let's dive a little deeper. These are some of the emotional intelligence competencies that go along with emotional intelligence behaviors and ideas. So self-awareness, are we aware of our own emotions? Are we aware of our own tendencies? That's very, very important in emotional intelligence and professionalism. Can we manage ourselves? Can we control those emotions? So that's different than being aware of them. You may be aware that you have a tendency to lose your patience at the end of the day when your energy is low, but do you have the ability to control that? Adaptability. So being able to change with new information, new goals, new work tasks that may come up that you weren't planning. Achievement orientation. So that is speaking to wanting to advance further in your career field and achieve the goals that you've set for yourself. Having a positive outlook. This is so important in the workplace. So frankly, most people do not enjoy working with a negative Nancy, I'll call them. Someone who just always is a grump, always looks on the negative side of things. It's normal to, and it's a good thing to observe what's positive and negative in any situation and not to pretend like everything's great all the time. But it's much better to have a positive outlook at work, have a positive attitude at work, and just demonstrate that in the workplace. You will feel better about the work that you're doing, and others will enjoy working with you more. Social awareness is the next category. So again, aware of others. So those first two columns have to deal with us. The last two have to deal with how we're interacting with other people. Do we have empathy? You likely would not be in this career field of occupational therapy if you did not have a great level of empathy for your clients. You're there to help them. Empathy, though, is the ability to put yourself in somebody else's shoes. So understanding where our clients are coming from, understanding what their cultural, their life influences are, and taking a step back and again, really see where the other person is coming from, not just our agenda with that person. Organizational awareness, what's going on at your organization? Who are the folks who are influencers? Who are the folks that are decision makers? I, for one, think you should treat everybody equally, everybody kindly, from the person who cleans up after you to the CEO of the company, but having that organizational awareness of who's in what position and who might have certain influences within the organization is a really good competency to have. So managing our relationships is the last category here. Are we able to influence others? That will certainly come into play in your field. You're going to have to try to convince your clients to do some exercises when you're not there. Can you influence them to do that? Certainly coaching and mentoring, not only with your clients, but with your coworkers, with your colleagues, and especially as you move into leadership within your field, that's going to be important. Conflict management, can we help mediate? Can we, again, diffuse conflicts when they're happening? Can we work well as part of a team? Our teamwork skills and inspirational leadership. And you don't have to be in a leadership position to demonstrate leadership skills and to inspire others. And in fact, whenever I interact with our occupational therapy students, I get a very strong sense of a strong leader. So again, you're all leaders and have that potential. And so taking that opportunity to be inspirational, positive, and influence others in a positive direction is a great way to use that power. So some of the implications of emotional intelligence are really interesting. High EQ is a better predictor of a successful career versus academic knowledge alone or your IQ. Data shows this. And especially the higher you advance in your career, the more that this matters. So for instance, in very technical careers, engineering is a good example. Someone could have excellent engineering intelligences and skills, and that strength is likely to get them promoted. Eventually, they're going to be promoted into a position where they are supervising other people. That is a totally different skill set than your engineering skill set. So those EQ skills really come in handy when you're supervising others. And many times we have to get trained on those mid-career. So hopefully you're getting a good jump on that now as you get started. Employers and graduate schools are starting to test this before hiring and accepting you. So you might fill out a character type of survey or a strengths assessment as part of your interview process. Emotional intelligence not only impacts our professional world, but our personal world as well. And the good news is that we can all improve our emotional intelligence. And you'll know that better than a lot of people based on what you've been studying. The brain is very plastic, elastic. It can be changed. Neuroplasticity is a very fascinating topic. And this is right in line with that, having a growth mindset. So it's really great to, especially at this point in your career, ask yourself, what are my natural strengths? Let me lead with those. So we're not all going to have all those competencies as strengths. That's unrealistic. So let's identify our strengths and really make sure we're leading with those on a day-to-day basis. We can also ask ourselves, what skills need improvement? There are going to be competencies that don't come as easy to you. Maybe influencing others is something that you're uncomfortable with. Persuading other people is something that you're not as comfortable with, but you need to do it. In your job, that is definitely something you can improve upon. You also want to take heart and analyze your supervisor and professor feedback that you're getting and try to move past feeling defensive or personally attacked when you get feedback, but trying to look at it in an analytical way and take in that feedback and work toward improving those competencies that you've been given some critical feedback on. Strategies for improvement. Folks, you can't improve any emotional competency without having some energy stores and without taking care of yourself. So self-care, I can't emphasize enough to you, as a helping professional, as a healthcare professional, you're going to be giving a lot of yourself, a lot of your time, effort, and energy to others. And it's very important that you take the time to fill up your own cup, however that works best for you. There are multiple different strategies for self-care. However, we are all very likely to benefit from regular exercise, good night's sleep, and good nutrition. So what other self-care activities you incorporate, make sure that you're giving some attention to those three things. And I know in graduate school it can be very difficult to pay attention to these, but especially as you work more with your clients, you'll want to make sure that you're scheduling time for self-care so that you have the energy for that patience. You have the energy for those good communication skills in a tense environment. Mindfulness is a great way to improve our emotional intelligence, and mindfulness is the idea that we are aware of our tendencies, our behaviors, our thoughts and feelings, and at the same time we're not attaching a judgment to those. That can be very hard for us to do, but we want to work toward mindfulness, noticing something. And if there's something to be improved upon, we can work toward that, but we don't want to judge ourselves too harshly when we see some slip-ups there. Practice makes progress. So the more you practice a skill, the better you're going to get at it. I honestly don't encourage you to embrace perfection and perfectionism because that is an elusive goal. We are all human beings capable of making mistakes. We all have strengths and areas of growth. However, again, the more we practice a skill, the better we get. And a great way to improve our emotional intelligence is to intentionally spend time with people who have that high EQ. You can't help but soak up some of their behaviors. And that's a great way to start making it just part of your daily actions and behaviors. Here are some resources for you that help you tap into some of the information that we shared today. And I know this picture isn't very professional. This meme is not that professional, but I just thought it was super cute. You nailed it. You've learned all this. You've nailed professionalism. And as a reminder, we are here to help. So again, the Alex Lee Career and Professional Development Center at Lenore-Ryan University. Our physical location is in the Learning Commons in room 204 on the Hickory campus. And we're available Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, via Zoom, via in-person, socially distanced. Please feel free to email me at any time with any questions or to set up an appointment, or you can simply request an appointment on Handshake, and that's a great way to get in. When you request the appointment, you have the options of choosing an in-person appointment, a phone appointment, or a Zoom appointment. So we really want to make sure that we are accessible to you and here to help you. So hopefully this information was helpful for you to learn a little bit more about professionalism and what that might look like as you enter into the occupational therapy profession. And please just remember, we are here to help as your professors are. And as always, go Bears.